Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live today. I certainly hope that the mic's working on here because I've had some issues with it and it doesn't tell me that it's not working. And so if like you're watching this and you can't read lips, tell me that my mic isn't working and then I'll have to do something, okay? But assuming I don't get any of that, then I'm going to assume it's working and we're good to go. So, what's the live going to be on today? Well, there's a lot of issues with waivers, tons of issues with waivers. So I thought today, I'd talk more about business waivers, and I'd specifically focus on what causes the need for a waiver to have to be done. Okay, why would you need a waiver? And so forth. I've done lots of videos on how to do the waivers, what the waivers are, and so forth. But this particular video, I want to concentrate on why you need the waiver. On what you might do that would necessitate you having to get a waiver. Okay, and then after I'm done giving my spiel on that, I will answer your questions. So you can ask your questions now, or you can wait, whatever you want. I will go back through all the names here of people joining. I'll just see if there's any questions and answer them at that time, and then we'll go from there. All right. So I take it, since everybody here is joining and they keep joining, that my mic is working and you can hear me. If you can't, please let me know. Okay. So I take it we're good to go. All right. So remember the basics of a waiver is that if you want to come into the U.S., and we're talking for business waiver, not a green card, but you have a business visa, whether it's an H-1B, an L-1, an E-2, an L-1, I could go on with alphabet soup there. Or you're coming for a B1, which is the other part of the B2, which is to visit, okay? But you're coming in for business purposes. If you're inadmissible, and inadmissible means that, you can't come in because of some reason. You had the visa approved, but you can't come in because for whatever reason, they're not letting you in. So what reasons exist that make it so that you would need to have a waiver? Well, the biggest reason is criminal history, okay? It's a criminal history. That's a fact, okay? And I know that a lot of people, when they're young, they do dumb things or whatever, or the heat of the moment, whatever it is. But it turns out that after they do that, years and years later, they have a nice family, they've rehabilitated, they've, not done anything else. And I get a lot of people that say, okay, well, look, I did something 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Is it going to affect me when I go to the business to negotiate some contracts with company ABC? I already have the visa. Is it going to be a problem? And the answer is yes, most likely it will be a problem. Okay. And it depends what crimes. I mean, there are some crimes that are not an issue, okay? Some crimes that do not make you inadmissible. But, obviously if there's a question, you need to ask the immigration attorney, because I can tell you what, there's times where people go in to try to come into the U.S. and they say, do you have any history? And of course, they'll say no. And of course, whenever they ask that, they know the answer. They have the answer on the screen before they ask it. Okay, why else would they ask it? And when you say no, that person now is inadmissible, not only because of the crime, and maybe not because of the crime, but now because of misrepresentation and fraud. So they have just walked into a trap, making them inadmissible by lying about the prior criminal history. Okay? So they just made their case a lot worse. Okay, so that's just as an aside. So even though the crime might be years and years old, assuming it's a crime that makes you inadmissible, you're still going to need the waiver. Whether it's like, theft or assault or tax evasion, any different number of kinds of crimes. And for non-immigrant visa purposes, they can be waived. Okay? I mean, anything almost can be waived as long as it's not a security risk to the U.S. Okay? Now, doing a waiver and getting it approved are two very different things. Okay, so, that's a whole nother subject. But if you have a crime in the past, if you have an arrest that even didn't turn out into a conviction, then you will need to do the waiver. Okay, don't pretend it didn't exist. Don't think because it happened a long time ago it won't matter. And for God's sakes, don't lie about it. Okay? The immigration officials hate when people misrepresent and lie about their past. They're like waiting. Like in their minds, they're going, I hope that this person doesn't tell me the truth, because then it's real easy to deny them. Okay? So don't do that. Okay? So then, that's one of the big issues, crimes. Okay? So hopefully I made that clear. What other issues will make someone inadmissible? Okay? Well, some are unlawful presence in the U.S. Okay? Sometimes people have stayed here unlawfully or overstayed their visa and then left, and then they want to come back, and they're subject to the 3-year bar, the 10-year bar. They're inadmissible like that. They might not have any criminal history at all, but they might be inadmissible based on the fact that they overstayed their welcome here. Okay, that's one way. Another ground of inadmissibility are medical grounds. Okay, if you have a contagious disease, if you have psychological or mental issues, you still can qualify for an E2 visa with all these, or, business visa, but you're still going to need a waiver. Okay? And sometimes, if you're going to be a public charge, meaning that you're not going to have sufficient money to live in the U.S. and do what you have to do, then that is another reason that you're going to need a waiver. Those are the 4 big bases. There's others. Believe me, if you read the immigration law on what makes someone inadmissible, we could be here for the next 3 hours going over all of that. Okay, so I won't bore you with that. So those are the main reasons you need to get a waiver. Okay, so look at my other videos on how to do it and so forth. But as far as getting the waiver itself, have it prepared if any of those situations exist. Okay? All right, now, let me go. What I'm going to do is go to the beginning of, how is everybody this morning? It's nice and early, isn't it? I mean, depending where you live. Let me see what questions I have here. And what I'll do is, let me just scroll through all the questions here. I hope everybody is having a good day. It's hump day today, Wednesday. It's always nice. Let's see. While I'm scrolling, anybody who wants to send me some hearts, go ahead. I like when those come in. Okay, let's see. Just a second. Okay, is Trump going to affect removal of condition with a waiver? Boy, is that a sore subject this morning. Nobody knows what he's going to do. Okay, that's the fact. The only thing we can hope is that the Constitution and the rule of law remain in effect. There's nothing right now to indicate that will be affected. Okay? I assume you're talking about if you're married and you have a 2-year conditional green card and now you have to file the petition to remove the conditional residency. There's nothing to change that. I mean, keep in mind that if immigration laws are immigration laws, that in order to change them, it has to be passed by Congress. Okay, so if there's going to be any massive immigration efforts that are going to take everything away, um, it's going to need to pass, both the House and the Senate. So let's keep our fingers crossed that the House remains with the Democrats. All right. Let's see what other questions we have. Okay. 1 second. I see that some comments were filtered. So they don't tell me why they were filtered. Okay, what if you pretend to be a U.S. citizen to get a CDL, which is a California's driver's license? I assume that's what you're saying, unless you mean Connecticut driver's license or Colorado driver's license. I don't think there's any other C's in the U.S., is there? Can you still get a green card? The answer is no. Absolutely not. You're in a big, deep pot of water, okay? When you pretend to be a U.S. citizen, number one, that's fraud, okay? So let's pretend that you did that before 1996, okay? Before 1996, it would just be fraud, and then you could get a waiver, okay? And a waiver being what we're talking about here, it would be a fraud waiver, and if that's approved, then you can get the green card. But after 1996, when what's called IRA came out, they made it so you cannot do a waiver for claiming to be a U.S. citizen. So there's ways of analyzing it to see if there's a possibility to show that you didn't claim to be a U.S. citizen. Okay, part of it is there had to be an immigration benefit, but it's going to be hard for you to claim that there was not an immigration benefit by trying to get a driver's license. I mean, you obviously got the driver's license, so you could probably go work. So in cases like this, where someone claims to be a U.S. citizen and there's no waiver available under normal circumstances, there are visas available and ways of doing it that you can waive claimants to U.S. citizenship. For example, a U visa where you're a victim of crime, a T visa, victim of sex trafficking or work trafficking, or VAWA, under certain circumstances. Okay, so there are ways. But if you're, for example, just got married to a U.S. citizen, but you claim to be a U.S. citizen to get a driver's license, you're going to have a big hill to climb. Okay. So that's that. Okay. Let's see. Brian, should I marry my J1 girlfriend ASAP if we wanted to get married eventually? Okay, well, there's two parts to this question. There's nothing stopping you from marrying her. Okay, I mean, assuming that you love her and want to get married, go ahead. Go to Las Vegas tomorrow and get married. Have a ball. What the second part of your question is, which is what's not asked here, is after you get married to your J1 girlfriend, can she file for adjustment of status and get legal, lawful residency in the U.S.? And the answer is maybe, okay? I would first need to know, does your girlfriend on the J1, who you want to marry for love, hopefully, not because, her J1's expiring and she wants to stay here, is she subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement? And I suspect that she is, because you wouldn't have asked this question if she wasn't. If she wasn't subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, there really wouldn't be an issue. So I suspect she is. So then your next question to me is, well, okay, I want to marry her. She's subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement. What now? What can we do without her leaving the country for 2 years? Well, she can file a waiver. It's a difference. Do you see how much immigration law is on waivers? I mean, if you know how to do waivers in immigration law, you're golden, okay? She can file a waiver of the 2-year foreign residency requirement, and if that's approved, then she'll be able to adjust status with you and obtain lawful permanent residency. But no reason not to marry her because of this. Okay, I mean, if you love her and you want to marry her, go marry her. Okay, so that's that. Let's see what we have. Okay, I think. Oh, wait. This is a follow-up from what I just said. She has years left on the J1. She's a doctor and she's subject to the. Okay, well, all right. So, all the more reason to marry her. I mean, worry about the status and what to do after. Okay, if you wait for her to do the J waiver and all this other stuff, it'll be years before you go forward. Start your life now. Don't stop this. If she has years left on the J1 and she's a doctor, that means that she has another alternative way to get rid of that. And for all intents and purposes, it's go work in an area people don't want to work in for 3 years. Okay, so I don't know where you live, but if you don't mind moving to like Minnesota or North Dakota for 3 years, you're good to go. Okay, she'll get the J waiver that way. So there's different ways. Have her contact me. Okay, I'll let her know, or you contact me. Either way. Okay. All right. Well, and then finally, you'll say you'll move anywhere. So you are good to go. Okay, I don't know where you live now, but you ask your girlfriend, and she'll tell you, she probably knows about this. She'll go, well, I'm going to have to move to, a place that's knows 10 months of the year, to be a doctor for 3 years. But, if she's willing to do that, which she probably is because she's a doctor here on a J, and she's going to ultimately want to be a doctor here not on a J, that's how it'll work. Okay? All right. So I think that'll work. I think I answered all the questions. Let me just make sure. All right. Well, that should do the live for today. I hope everybody enjoyed. If you have further questions, feel free, ask me. Send a normal question in through the consultation, and we'll go that way. Okay? Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. All right.